Okay.
Dan and Jason Epthorpe, would you head over to the Hamilton Flying Club, please?
Look at that up there. Boy, I got lots of ground shots.
I like that. That goes back a long way, and then the association in the States, and they are going to have it published and distributed, which is a great honor. Look at this plane doing a side slip as he's coming down. There's just enough breeze in order to blow my sheets. They're there. Thanks, Connie. We got to help her anyway. Now they pulled up. There's your L-16s. It's very interesting. This particular type of aircraft, you know, flew during the Korean War. Let me tell you, it's alive and kicking both here in Canada, the U.S., and in particular in England. Out here, right out, about straight out from where I am, used to be a bit of a swamp, and there's a little bit of a hump in it. Now, if they're fast, you'll see them coming from my left around and taking up their place. You get away from the pilot. Stan Jenisek in this one, taxiing along. Stan is a Harvard pilot with the Harvard Aircraft Association. And here, I believe this must be, let me see, the Jackaroo. This will be piloted by Glenn Morrison, and I imagine he's got Tom Dietrich in there to make sure. No, he's by himself. Neat little plane, little extra room in that one. Actually a oddball type of thing, really, isn't it? I better not let him hear me say that, or Tom, or they'll tell me about it. Let me tell you about it. There's a Pratt Reed glider, and I talked about an international air show. Well, we're very fortunate to have the Pratt Reader PRG-1. It's going to perform for us, and it has 2 distinctions for World War II as a training glider. Side-by-side seating, the fact that it was only training glider designed for the Navy. And when he does, as soon as he cuts free, he's going to go and do a loop. Right in front of us, look at this, taxiing right by. From the Canadian Warplane Heritage. Boy, we give you the action right in front of us. And he has cut loose. Now then, the pilot today is Mike Campbell, and the tow pilot is Evan Dyer, and they're both from Ann Arbor, Michigan. What? Since 1952, it has held the multi-place world record for the absolute altitude of 44,255 feet. That was flown by Larry Edgar during the 1950s. Betsy Woodward Proudfoot set a number of feminine records, and she still holds the women's national multi-place records for distance in a glider 170 miles. This is a glider that did all these feats. It's constructed of wooden fabric, wings and tail, wood on the aft fuselage, steel tube fabric forward fuselage. It has a span of 54.5 feet, wing area of 230 square feet, and its weight empty is 770 pounds, and with 2 people can be 1,150 pounds. No fuel on board, a glider, no motor, and he is at the mercy of the wings, and he has to keep himself positioned at all times in order to come down and make a safe landing. The performance of this glider is load and distance 22 feet at 53 miles an hour. Maximum sinking rate is 3 foot at 49 miles per hour. The stalling speed is 40 miles an hour. Now this glider, look at him go right over the top, doing a loop, back over, and he's going to do a wing over up the bow. They use these gliders for training, 2-place glider, good training. You see, at one time, you have to remember that during D-Day, they used the big gliders in order to transport the troops over on D-Day. And I'll talk to some of the fellows that were very lucky to get out of that. They went over and towed over by Dakota 3s, DC-3s, and I'll tell you, they were at the mercy of the wind, their pilot, and so on, and they did a great job. One little known factor that I was involved with, just a little bit of a side, they had this great idea that they might use Spitfire 5s in order to take our own ground crew over and land in Normandy. So we actually got checking out some of our pilots. I didn't have nerve enough to go into a glider, but we had some of our pilots that got checked out in it. Now he's coming right towards us. He's keeping an eye on the runway, and he'll wheel back and forth that nice red and white underwing. Look at him maintain his height. There's not much breeze. There might be a little bit of thermal effect there, but he's maintaining his height very, very well. Pratt Reed PRG-1. This is our international part of it. These fellows came from Ann Arbor, Michigan to be with us today and tomorrow. Just wheeling back and forth, and it's a beautiful sky up there with fleecy clouds. You know, that's one thing going back, and I know old pilots like to see those fleecy clouds, and we could wheel and soar around them. It was a great feeling. 5, as we used to call it, will be leading. See, it's piloted by a woman. That's the twin-engine silver plane out there is piloted by a woman. 7862. You old-timers out there, check and see if you flew that crane. They had them down at Trenton. I want to tell you about this other one because it's a silver twin-engine aircraft. She flies with her Lynn Travis. There it goes. A girl is flying that one, ladies and gentlemen. Naomi Wadsworth from Geneseo, New York. Yeah, now let me tell you, her type rating up to and including the B-17 bomber. And there we have a Yale, the young cousin or young brother of the Harvard, followed by a second Yale. 3350, the first one, is in the silver colors as they were produced during the Fleet Fort. It is a bit of an oddball, sort of one of a kind. There are not many Fleet Forts around. This particular, we'll throw this in periodically because this is just showing you what expertise our pilots have, whether they belong down the Muirkirk Squadron. Most of these people belong to the Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association, based at Tillsonburg now. We have a hangar there, meeting place. We meet the 3rd Tuesday of every month, 12 times a year. Very nice spacing, ladies and gentlemen. You don't have to be real close in order to make it look good. Really nice spacing for the 4 Chipmunks as they go over. Now, when the Harvards get down there and start running up, it's going to get a little bit noisy. Chipmonk. So we're ad-libbing as we go along. The Chipmunks have recovered coming back in. Pete Spence has stayed up in his, and he's going to be 1941 historic aircraft group out of Geneseo, founded in 1999. And right behind it comes a Yale T-3350. Warplane heritage. And right overhead, ladies and gentlemen, and look at the grouping. Not bad at all. And on this side is little Anne-Marie Springer. Isn't that nice? She's taking it very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. Give a wave to them. Not a lot of room. Handles it very well. Very close to that little plane out there, FK-107, let me tell you. Now she's safely by and on her way. And here we have Pete Spence, Muirkirk here. Pete Spence doing a nice loop. And then he's going to do a cubinate where he's going to go up, turn it over the top, pull it down through. No, you crossed me up there, Peter. You did a roll instead. Okay, I'll take that. I'm sorry. My apologies. Pete doesn't hear me, of course, up there. He did have loop. He's keeping out of the way while the Harvards get ready to come back on their second pass. I've lost the T-28 right now. I understand that he's going to do a run pretty soon. Pete is gaining height up above us. We'll bypass him and see where the Harvards are. He isn't smoking yet. We might have to fire again. We'll see what happens this time. Sorry about that. I saw this coming down. I thought, that's Larry. It isn't. He's coming down now. Let's go. Listen to more. Hey, get him. Nice. Hey, he's firing at us. Hey, fire again. Get him. There's nothing up there to fire at, Larry. There's no... Go away, Larry. I don't mind. Don't... Nothing nicer than to see airplanes performing in the sky when it's such a nice blue sky and white clouds. And that's the last pass of the T-24. He's going to come around and come down and then come in and land. He's circling around. He's going to do one more pass for us. And have you got the Harvards lined up for me, Sid? Well done, I'll tell you, that was a nice group formation. Now we have to have the first part of August. And look at this, the 6 coming by. Listen to vroom, vroom, vroom. You hear that? That's the power of 600 horsepower in these Harvards and the T6s. Hey, he bounced, 46 bounced a little. And where he should be, right behind her, is her husband. Ladies go first. Dan Springer, right out in front. No, I'm sorry, that's not Dan. That's a TA. Where'd Dan get you? That white front. Don't tell him that I missed him going by. I knew he went by, but I forgot that it was Dan. Here's the silver job going right by with a big spinner on a T6. The action as you are at Muirkirk. Quebec. He served with 4-6 Green Squadron at Chatham, New Brunswick from 1964 to 1967. In 1967, he left the Air Force and joined Air Canada. And here we have the next 4 Harvards coming by. The first one is Norm Beckham, who will be doing a solo Harvard aerobatic sequence later on. Mr. Harvard himself from Woodstock had him in my logbook, which Don was pleased to find out 3 different times. And watch this. Straight out, nothing fancy, gaining speed, and now he pulls it up and up against that sky. Get ready to take your picture, and he's going to do what we call a hammerhead. Watch that. He's almost stationary in the sky, turns it, comes heading down. Watch this. A half roll down. Inverted. He's inverted, ladies and gentlemen. The wheels are up above, and he's inverted coming across in front of you. And he's going to do a square loop. And outside, see that? Straight up, inverted. Watch when he gets up to the top, almost stalled. Push it again. Straight. All right, he's crossing, going straight out. And watch this, he's still there. And now he's got half of this Cuban 8. Remember a great big 8 lying on the side. And out he goes. Here is a diving snap roll, which is hard to recover. There's smoke on. Up he goes. Straight up. Way up. Look at that roll. Back over. What's he doing now? He's going to pull it over. Coming right up over the top. I'm glad I got my stool. Look at that snap roll. Then back down again. This man doesn't know whether to fly right side up or not. Roll right over, double roll, triple roll. Yeah, he just keeps on rolling and invert it and pushes it up again. Look at that. His hand and another and invert it again. That was optional. That look at this. He just doesn't stop rolling at all. Upside down, right side up. Hell keeps on flying. Sky against the white clouds. Look at that. Beautiful. Rolling vertical roll, way, way up there. And down he comes again. I'm not sure whether he's going to be right side up or not. And out he goes. I don't have to talk a lot when he's doing his job because it's just a delight to watch that little black buzz bomb in the sky. He rolls it up again and keeps on rolling around. He's rolling still and rolling. He doesn't stop rolling. Right across as he keeps up his height. See that? Very definite speed compared to the weight of this little airplane. And he's hanging up there. What's happening now? Look at that. That's a lumbic. That's a canned lumbic where he turns sideways, right around, and then he comes back down. He's heading straight up, ladies and gentlemen, watch, and pushes over the top to power that little motor. And away he goes. Now he's going to come towards us. He's not leaving, he's just getting out there, gaining some working. Look at that, turning all the time, at the same time, doing a roll. Rolling around and round and round as he turns. 360 degrees turning in a roll all the time. That is something else again. That takes a lot higher and higher. Outside, all the way around, then he rolls it, still pushing, and climbs out and away. Fairey Swordfish, and then I will follow after that. Bruce.
Folks, this is an amazing plane. The Swordfish was designed by a Belgian engineer employed by Fairey Aviation in the early 1930s. It was accepted by the British Royal Navy as a torpedo reconnaissance spotter aircraft before the Second World War. Now, many fans of the Swordfish call it one of the most remarkable airplanes ever built. This awarded battle honors for many conflicts.
Elhoff, ladies and gentlemen, give him a great big hand as he taxis by you in the 5th special. I imagine he's perspiring a little bit. Elhoff, one of the premier aerobatic pilots in Canada today. Thank you very much, Al.
Some of the conflicts the Fairey Swordfish was involved in was the Bismarck, Toronto, Dunkirk, Norvis HS-554 flew 362 hours with the Eastern Air Command based in the Canadian Maritimes. After the war, it was sold by Crown Assets to Ernie Simmons of Cortland here in Ontario. That's when Bob Spence comes into the picture. He bought the derelict Swordfish at Simmons Estate sale on Labor Day weekend 1970. Spence finished his authentic restoration project in 1991. The HS-554 took to the air for the first time in nearly 50 years on August 17th of 1992. Now, Charlie, have you ever been up in the Fairey Swordfish?
I haven't had the pleasure yet, but one of these days I'm going to.
Let me tell you, it's an incredible ride. It's nothing like I've ever seen before.
Goes. Actually, a chap was up with them who's here, and you see it on the field. Hammond Fuels, Chuck Hammond. Chuck Hammond actually got involved in this, have spent years on it, and here he comes back around the Fairey Swordfish doing a pass. This aircraft could carry practically anything. Torpedoes, it mine laying. Listen to the sound of that great big cylinder engine. And notice the machine gun, it isn't working, but it's pointing up at the back. I'm the sea level, and got out of the way in between ships and so on. Very maneuverable, took off from and served with the Royal Navy all the way through the war. An unbelievable aircraft from 1939 to 1945. And here's Bob. Take a picture of it, showing you the bottom side of it as he turns it up on its side. The Fairey Swordfish. Back across in front of us for our pleasure. Fairey Swordfish. The painting on HS-554 was a major job. You can see the raw results of Everett's work as it flies by once again in front of us for your picture-taking pleasure. That Fairey Swordfish could carry bombs, as I mentioned, torpedoes. It could actually do mine laying as well as the machine gun for some protection. And it was called affectionately, and not so affectionately, the string bag, and in the Navy. And it hung the Fairey Swordfish. You get that camouflage, and he'll hit that little bit of turbulence with a bit, there's not much wind though, he should be all right. Oh, there's very little wind as he comes down. Notice that. Very steady, and he's bringing it well down the runway. You can set it down anytime, friend. Anytime. You're going around? Whatever you say, go ahead. Great, I'm glad you decided. You decided to go around very nicely. I think. But he's safely on the ground, and we're pleased to have it, because you know how much that aircraft is valued at today?
Probably less.
I'm taking a guess, but I would think that Bob, his family or whatever, they have a lot of money sunk in that. I would think that right now you could buy it, if you wanted to, in flying condition, for $750,000, maybe $1 million. There's only one other flying in the world, although I understand they've got a second one going in England just shortly. How much? Oh, you're offering 300 or 3,000 or 3 million for it. I've got a hand up. I'm not auctioning it off, sir. I'm not auctioning it off. And here we have the P-40 starting up, we think, in front of you. Isn't that quite the scheme, the paint scheme on that? This is a P-40E, flown by Bill Anderson, and he's based at Geneseo, New York, for their air show. Strangely enough, if you ever met Bill Anderson, you would... Oh, thanks, Ken. I've been updated. There's 2 flying now in Canada and 2 flying in England. We got 4 of them flying. We'll have a whole squad of them going yet, Ken. Listen to that motor on that. That's an Allison motor in that Curtiss P-40E flown by Bill Anderson. Very unassuming, quiet-talking man. Actually, I was surprised. He's an orthodontist in Geneseo, New York. He wanted to fly a P-40 since he was a kid. The wings were sawed off when I bought this airplane in Manitoba back in the 1960s. They brought the plane back east on a railway flat car. He's flying it in the Tiger AVG markings, similar to what they flew in China with General Claire Chennault's Flying Tigers, and it's rather interesting. In doing some research on the P-40, I found that it was the third largest production aircraft in the U.S. The first was, believe it or not, the P-47 Thunderbolt. The second was the P-51, and the third was the P-40. They flew, he says 300 miles. I think it would be a little bit higher. No, that's a cruising speed. And it was a very, very good aircraft to fly. And in China, just for your information, they actually claimed that they shot down, wait till I read my little scribbling down here that I wrote down on it, something like 286 claimed victories and 300 probables for the loss of 12 aircraft and only 8 pilots. 2, getting ready to take off the P-40E Curtiss. That's a 1170 horsepower Ellison motor, V12 motor in that aircraft. Which was built in 1945 for the post-war corporate aircraft market. It represents the aircraft flown by F.O. David Pudney of Vancouver, British Columbia, who won the Distinguished Flying Cross while with number 98 Squadron, RAF, for numerous operations and for the successful bombing of a bridge in Holland in 1944. And here we have the B-25 Mitchell. I'm sorry, our anti-aircraft gun thought we were being fired on, and so we were protecting the airfield. Did that wake you up? And he's going to bend it over and give you a top-side view, and we're shooting at him. Look at that, take a picture. That's in the markings of D-Day markings, so there couldn't be a mistake. And he's doing a fairly high-speed pass, and I imagine this time he's going to turn it so that you can get a bottom view of it. He's turning it up on its side now, coming across. There you have it. The B-25 Mitchell from Canadian Warplane Heritage. You hear those throaty growl of those motors. The power plants are 2 Wright Cyclone R2600 motors, 17 horsepower each, and has a maximum speed of 272 miles. The wingspan, an hour that is, and the wingspan is 76 feet 6 inches and a length of 52 feet 11 inches. The pilot, what a picture. Second World War, some pilots got the idea of buzzing the old farmhouse or the girlfriend or what have you, and so they put these bigger numbers on in order to have it more easily spotted. And I happened to fly with and know the fellow, Cap Foster was his name, sergeant pilot at the time, that looped the Niagara Bridge. They got 3 of his 4 numbers and didn't get the last one, and so he could claim innocence. After that, they put on the bigger numbers that were easier to see and only 2. And so here we have Norm spooling up. Norm Beckham, Mr. Harvard from Woodstock, Ontario. He's going to do a solo aerobatic sequence. Kent, his son, can't be here, and believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, if you have seen the 2 of them do a dual aerobatic sequence, it is really something to see. Unfortunately, Kent had other commitments as an airline pilot, and he couldn't be here with us today. And where have we got the P-40, Sid? You got the, Sid, I need you to pick up the P-40. He should be coming here pretty soon. Of course, we got to let that smoke clear away. Hey, he can find the field. All he's got to do is find the smoke. Hey, he's firing at us again. The machine gun, Danny, burn through the smoke. We'll get him when he comes back. We'll try to shoot him out of the cheaper fighter planes. And here he comes down, and he's firing again, and we're firing at him. Hey, we got a war going on here. Get him. Oh, we missed him. He's moving at pretty good speeds. A 1170 horsepower motor, B12 liquid cooled Ellison motor. Here he comes, showing you a bottom side pass along with Naomi. And there you have a top side view. No fair shooting at him when he's broadside like that. I hope you got some pictures as he went by. We have our 50th coming up next year, and here he comes, topside pass, our P-40. Look at that. The P-40, and I would think his final pass. Number 77. He's coming from behind you, ladies and gentlemen, straight down over, and we'll see what Norm is going to do. You'll see him coming out very shortly against the blue sky. Hear the sound. Norm Beckham in the harbor, and smoke's on. And he's pulling it up, and up, and up, and he should turn it and start to come down along the flight line like the part of a clover leaf. Look, turning it over the top and coming back down. And here he comes from one half of a Cuban 8, back in right in front of us along the flight line. Get your pictures. And hear the sound. Look at this, four-sided roll, 3 and 4, four-sided big roll. He shuts off the smoke and he'll climb out there in order to gain a lot more height. This has been a great day here today, ladies and gentlemen. Hope that you have enjoyed it. Actually, with Norm's sequence will be the final sequence, but don't forget that they have this steak barbecue, 10-ounce New York strip steak, and you can get tickets right at the Spence Vintage Airworks right at the corner here. And here, I don't want them to hit it. Nice going, Bill. Batten down the hatches, hold your hats. Bill Anderson in the P-40E, we bring you right to you. The air show. Never have you been so close, and Norm should be getting ready to tell his son how to do 8 instead of 4. But they have a little competition. And he's gaining height. Can you see him out there against the white sky as he gets up, trying to get quite a bit of height. He's coming back into wind. I like those guys up on top of our new windsock there. That's where some of the media can get and really get a picture of things. Red line is about 212. They tell me there's a smoke on again. And up he goes. And up. And over the top. Look at that hanging up there. Right over. Talk about a slow roll. No hesitation in the motor. Just a great big slow roll in the sky. Just a signature. How about that? Norm Beckham from Woodstock, Ontario. What a delight. Wow. We know how to wind up in there.